This is going to be fun and not in a great way. What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel that's still growing strong. Thanks so much for being a part of this journey. AutoTrader. This is a massive topic at the moment, something which is going bananas. And I can't believe what I'm seeing, to be honest with you. When it comes to listing vehicles, buying vehicles, it is the #1 platform when it comes to numbers. And let's be honest, when it comes to listing cars, it seems to be the one that gets the most traction with genuine buyers and even sellers. So with AutoTrader being #1 and has been for a very long time, bearing in mind they've had market dominance for a good period of time, there are some really good alternatives coming up. But let's be honest, AutoTrader has always had the monopoly. The question is, at that point, has that monopoly become their own Achilles heel? Let's go into it. Still thinking of companies like Nokia. They were #1 for a long period of time, but eventually, just because they didn't read the maps correctly, it turned into their own worst enemy. From what I'm hearing, this is a really serious time for AutoTrader because they could be losing a lot of accounts, but at the same time, it's questionable for us because they could also still remain on top. That's the whole point of this video. Now, this video is targeted at anyone who loves cars, new traders who are on a journey very similarly to me. I'm going to give you my insights into how I fit into all this, being that I'm a new motor dealer and I've been going for about half a year now. So for me, who's only got a select amount of cars, how do I get around it? How does it affect me when it comes to costs, choices, etc.? That's all in this video. And of course, on top of that, for those who know and don't know about the serious stuff that's going on with AutoTrader that is causing mass exodus of cancellation of accounts and all of the above, this is also in this video as well. It's something which you need to know because I am shocked and appalled and alarmed by everything I'm seeing online. To be honest with you, it makes me sad because, like a lot of people, we read AutoTrader in magazines years ago. It's just really sad to see it go this way because the world is going to a certain way. So anyways, before we get into too much emotion, let's get into the serious business of what's going on. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have already seen my video on starting this business. If you haven't, the link's in the description. It's one that you must watch because you'll understand this journey of starting off as a new motor trader very, very quickly. But a lot of people have asked me, and of course I don't blame them, they ask me, where do you list your cars? And of course, how have you managed to get genuine buyers for such a huge amount of cars in a short period of time? Well, the answer is very simple. They were all listed on AutoTrader. Every single one, bar my very, very first, which is before I had my AutoTrader dealer account. Now, obviously, Motor Trade Insurance got me the dealer account as well as a couple of basic checks. Now, you can filter private sellers, but of course, as a private seller, you're not going to get an awful lot of confidence, and there's some complications when it comes to selling a car under the Consumer Rights Act. Nobody really wants to be buying from a private seller because if the engine explodes on their way home, they have no protection, and that's where the big difference comes in buying a car from a dealer or a trade seller, because at least you have the protection of the Consumer Rights Act, which ultimately means that you are protected. It's not a get out of jail free card when it comes to having the dealer maintaining your car or fixing any new faults that appears. At least the car that you get at the time you get it should be in very decent condition. So basically, from the very beginning of my journey, I've been able to list cars on AutoTrader. Now, when it comes to listing them, you start out as a pay-as-you-go customer. Now, these effectively may as well be two separate companies within AutoTrader. The pay-as-you-go side of things and the pay monthly side of things. These are both very, very different. So when I started out, created my account as a dealer, it was a pay-as-you-go account. It still is a pay-as-you-go account. This is where it gets quite interesting. So with a pay-as-you-go account, the only major difference, as far as AutoTrader tells me, is that I'm not getting a lot of the major exposure, major features, which they consider to be fundamental in me being successful in selling my cars. However, they say that, but I was able to sell all of these cars with not as much effort as it should have done with that system that they said didn't give me much exposure. However, I was able to sell quite a lot of these cars within a short period of time using their very basic features that they said that I desperately needed to move away from and pay more with pay monthly on. So to put it in plain English, when I'm listing the car, it gives me options. I can list the car for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, or 8 weeks. Now, to tell you the truth, I list my car for 2 weeks at a time and I keep on renewing the listing. The reason I do it for 2 weeks at a time is because if I was to pay for the block for 6 or 8 weeks, the discount is very, very minimal. You're literally talking £1 or £2. So there is no point in listing a car for 8 weeks when if someone buys it within 2 weeks, I can save the money of having to book for longer time. If I can only pay for 2 weeks worth and get my money from that and not pay for 8 weeks worth being wasted at that point, because if someone buys a car within 2 weeks, I have no choice but to then delete the advert, the rest of it's useless. I can't swap it over to another car. I've paid for that car only, that advert only, that URL only specifically. So the moment the car's purchased, the rest of it is wasted. So what I will do is I will pay for 2 weeks, and if the car doesn't sell in 2 weeks, I will renew the listing. Yes, that's inconvenient. It's a bit of manual work, and it does mean that every time I renew, I get a new URL link, which means I've got to go and update various places with the new link. But to tell you the truth, with the cost, it's not that much of a problem. And to tell you the other truth, I've actually been having moderate success with it for obvious reasons. Now, a lot of people were asking me about Facebook Marketplace. Yes, I was also, and still do sometimes, list my cars on Facebook Marketplace. But that was more of an experiment. I list the cars on Facebook Marketplace just to see, side by side with the same photos, the same description, the same details, car, price, whatever, even saying and pointing to the fact that this is a dealer who's selling it, not a private seller. 95%, actually no, 98, 99% of the time, I had genuine customers on AutoTrader. I had genuine people who came forward, contacted me, and were genuine customers. You know, most of the time they weren't tire kicking, and as you can see, a lot of them sold pretty quickly, and that was through AutoTrader. The only car that sold first on Marketplace was the Golf. But the Golf that I had, yeah, that sold first on Marketplace, but I had multiple calls from AutoTrader even before I delivered the vehicle out. So it's not as though AutoTrader failed me, it's just that in that one scenario out of many, Facebook was the first. But majority of the time, I don't even get a message on Facebook. And if I do get a message on Facebook, 8 out of 10 times it's someone trying to barter me down a serious amount. Whereas on AutoTrader, you don't get that. It's a lot more respectful because they clearly know that you're a serious dealer who is doing retail business under the Consumer Rights Act. And again, I have to stress, if someone buys my car and the car on the way home explodes, it's clearly had a fault at the point of sale, then I am liable for that car. As a private seller, the reason why you're going to struggle to pull in the retail value is purely because you are not liable for that car going forward once it leaves your possession. We are. That money is there as a protection to ensure that I've done a good job. You may have noticed that a lot of the cars I sell, I am so fanatic when it comes to details. You see me changing the wiper blades, you see me going really, really far into the detail. Even the BMW 1 Series that I'm working on currently, it's really, really cool, and it had a intermittent Vanos issue. The issue actually disappeared when we got into the modules, reset everything, and got it to the point where most of the car was fixed. The issue disappeared. I did not have to spend the money on changing the solenoid, which ended up being the issue, for the Vanos in order to kind of give me peace of mind. But I spent the extra money because in my mind, I'm not putting that car out there if there's a chance that that same solenoid that might still be intermittent will come back on me. In my mind, I need peace of mind that I know legitimately the car is going out solid. So answering that question about how I do things on a pay-as-you-go account, and the prices are actually pretty reasonable. They're not amazing, but they're not terrible. If I sell a cheap car for, let's say, about £3,000, then I'm paying about £30 for 2 weeks of advertising. Yes, I've got to renew that, so £60 a month, but that's not that terrible. So, you know, even if you're selling a car that, let's say, costs you £100 a month or £50 for every 2 weeks, so that's pay-as-you-go prices, roughly, on a rough basis. Now we come on to the controversial topic of pay monthly. This topic is going to be very, very sad for me to explain because I'm really hating everything I'm watching at the moment. So many dealers, so many people, Facebook groups, everyone is going on about AutoTrader's new feature. So AutoTrader recently announced a feature called Deal Builder, something around those lines. Deal Builder basically is where AutoTrader, they're saying they're trying to bridge the gap between the consumers and the dealers. They're trying to come in and offer a feature to help connect the two. I didn't know we needed help connecting, and I didn't know that an advertising platform needed to step in and help us do our business for us, but let's just go with it. I'm going to show you this right now as an example. The first car that I see here on the page, if I just go and click that, so it's a black Land Rover, it's in Northwich. We could be talking about a Fiat 500, we can be talking about a Pagani Zonda, doesn't matter what the car is, doesn't matter who the dealer is. But here, what you may have noticed is it says reserve. Now, reserve for £99. Lock it down, reserve the car for a refundable £99. We'll keep your money safe and always return it. And then if you click build a deal, What it then says is you can personalize your deal online of adding a part exchange, exploring payment options. So whilst this looks quite innocent and in some way that they're trying to assist you, this is what's gotten everyone so off. This reservation, you might have seen it around for a while. However, this new adapted version of the reservation is actually fairly new. This has just been announced as something which is now mandatory. Now, why is that a pain, you may ask? Pay monthly customers for AutoTrader, and you can check this online. You can look at, I'm sure, tons of other YouTubers and dealers. All of them are talking about this. The amount of money you pay for a pay monthly package is horrendous. You're talking thousands to a minimum. I've spoken to AutoTrader, and the cheapest package that's basically been offered to me is about £1,200 a month. £1,200 a month minimum. That is the smallest possible package that I can go on. Let's go back to the pay-as-you-go that I'm on. If I've got 3 cars, 4 cars, and they're like, what, 30, 40, 50 quid every 2 weeks, call it £100 a month. It's not terrible, is it? So for me on pay-as-you-go, the costs that I'm looking at are already a fraction of pay monthly. But here's the detail. If you are somebody, whether it's a rival to this place, or you just want to piss them off, or you legitimately want to reserve the car, but your intentions are still a bit up and down on actually going in and finding out the details, you want to rush to reserve it. The point is, you hit reserve now, the vehicle is marked as reserved. Everyone's saying that once you mark it as reserved, AutoTrader actually take the post down or don't make it visible to anyone else while it's reserved. I have actually spoken to AutoTrader about this. Their answer on that is coming up very shortly. But the key detail on this one is that the £99 for the reservation, the dealer never sees that. This feature is no longer optional. It is now mandatory. And the accusation from the dealers is that this feature basically takes the control away from us dealers, in the sense that someone can reserve the car and it is reserved with them for, I think it's 3 weeks, 21 days, which is mental if it's a tire kicker or someone who hasn't got full intention of buying the car, but then someone else who might be genuine won't be able to have a clean experience on browsing that car thinking it may still be available. Big dealers are paying huge money to advertise cars that they can't advertise as cleanly as they want to. It's the fact that this has been described as the straw that broke the camel's back. All that basically means is that dealers are getting so fed up of how much they're paying for these pay monthly subscriptions. In a lot of cases, big dealers are paying in excess of £10,000 a month. A month. 10 grand a month. Rentals of some extreme places don't cost £10,000 a month. The problem is, AutoTrader is a public company with stocks. Public records show that AutoTrader, over 70% of the income, is pure profit. The greed with this company is becoming so publicly clear, to a point where Facebook groups have been put together now full of dealers who together are collectively going, hang on a second, AutoTrader is a fantastic product, but we are being rinsed, molested, and taken advantage of in every single possible way you can think of. The feature here could even be taken advantage of. It could be somebody who's got something against one of these dealers and just wants to spite them for the sake of 99 quid. Oh, but remember, you will always get your money back according to this writing. The hilarious part is, to me, BCA has got extremely high fees. They have got nothing on what AutoTrader is charging all the dealers, which is really, really sad, because we all want to respect AutoTrader because they have got a brilliant product. And even for me, you can see it makes a really big difference. But how do you work with a company that is literally trying to molest you? AutoTrader have been phoning me every single month since I started my pay-as-you-go account to basically evaluate where I'm at in my growth, with the hope that I will convert over from a pay-as-you-go account to a pay monthly account. Now, yes, the minimum cost I'll be looking at is about £1,200 a month. I do think that's rising, and I do think it'll be a bit more expensive than that. I had a phone call a couple of days ago, and I took it as an opportunity to say to AutoTrader, hang on a second, with all due respect, you want me to upgrade to a pay monthly package where, correct me if I'm wrong, this feature of the mandatory reservation, that is something that I have to live with, I can't turn off, and quite frankly, I don't like it. I then had a list of things I wanted to ask them, because I heard of a lot of things online that were outrageous, and I wanted to effectively confront them and find out what the answers were. So number one, is this feature mandatory? Do we have to have it on? Can we turn it off? Basically, the answer is no, you can't turn it off. You're correct, it is mandatory. Question two, £99 for the reservation fee. Do we ever see that? If someone comes and reserves one of my car, you can very clearly see on my website, it says reservation deposit is £150 and that's non-refundable. Of course it's non-refundable. The whole point is you're saying, I've got such interest in your car, I don't want anyone else to have it, take it off the market, or at least tell people that I'm number one and they get second dibs after I've made my final decision. Fine, put down £150. That basically means that I'm covered in case you basically waste my time. So it's non-refundable, but if you go ahead and purchase the car, then we knock the £150 off the asking price because you're just clearing the balance on what's left. That makes sense. So reserving the car for £99, who does it benefit? Because we never see the £99, do we? And that was my question to them. I said, do we ever see that £99? They said, nope, you never see that. If they choose not to go ahead with the purchase, they get the £99 back. If they go ahead with the purchase, they get the £99 back. So we never see it. AutoTrader hold it, and part of the defense was that they don't hold it in their own account. It's in a form of like an escrow account that is distant from them, so they can't tap into it. I don't think that detail is necessarily important. The bottom line is it is held away from us. We never see that. Then I said, have they actually got 3 weeks to make this decision? And they said, yeah, 21 days at the moment is what it is. Apparently that number keeps changing, which is a bit of a pain on its own. But currently, yeah, 21 days is the amount of time they have to make the final decision on whether to go ahead with this purchase. Bearing in mind, most of the time they reserve the car without talking to the dealers, without finding out the ins and outs about the car. These are not expensive cars, most of them, especially the budget cars. They've had a life. They've got a lot of details that they need to find out about first. They haven't spoken about the warranty. They haven't spoken about the service history. They haven't spoken about any quirks the car may have, where it came from, how many owners. The next question I asked was, even though this is going to be a premium feature, which is mandatory, not optional, so effectively it wouldn't be a premium feature at that point, it becomes a standard feature, but there's an additional premium that we have to pay for using this feature, isn't there? He did turn around and say, no, that's not true. The pricing of everyone's packages remain the same. This feature that comes in will not affect the pricing of the packages. Now, the next question I had was quite a serious one, which is that the accusation, a lot of videos I saw basically said that once somebody hits this reserve button, until they decide not to take the car or to buy the car, this vehicle is not viewable to anybody else whilst it's marked as reserve. Is that true? He actually turned around and said, no, that's not true. That is a myth. He said, once that car is reserved, it remains on the market, it remains as something visible. The only detail is that while it's marked as reserved, our biggest concern was that nobody else can see the car. That's what everyone's saying online. According to AutoTrader, according to what this contact told me, he said, no, when someone reserves the car during the reservation period, let's call it that, it will say clearly to everyone else, this vehicle has been reserved. But what they're saying, AutoTrader, they're saying that no, the public can still see the advert, it will not be taken down, the visibility won't change. However, even though it says the vehicle is now reserved, the contact details, the number, the messaging services, they will still be active, so you can still generate leads, you can still get people coming in and buying the car. I said, hang on a second, so even though you've marked it as reserved, in AutoTrader it says this vehicle is reserved, did you just say that I can still sell the car elsewhere and not be persecuted? He said, yeah. So hang on a second, let me get this straight, because this doesn't make any sense. Sorry about that, the GoPro actually died. I want to finish this point. Basically, AutoTrader have said that even though the car is marked as reserved, it doesn't matter. Yes, it says that the car is marked as reserved, but we have full rights to sell the car to anybody at that point. Basically, it's not reserved. So even though the car is marked as reserved, the person who's reserved it will get their money back regardless of whether they buy it or don't buy it. So their money's safe, it makes no difference, but the vehicle will always be available. So if it's marked as reserved and the next day we get a phone call or someone comes and visits us and says, I'm having that car, even though we've already got it reserved online, we can say, yeah, no problem, you pay now, you whatever, the car's yours. And it goes, and we won't get persecuted for selling the car. Correct me if I'm wrong, that doesn't make any sense. What is the point in reserving the car? There's no benefit at all. It winds me up, this whole thing, because AutoTrader, right, 90% plus of your customers in pay monthly at least are so upset and angry over the fact that they're paying extortionate amounts of money, which are going mostly towards profit. Literally, the majority of it points to greed. I'm getting regular phone calls. I'm having regular conversations with the Pay Monthly team and the contact there who, yeah, he's a lovely guy and he's monitoring my progress and he's seeing the amount of stuff I'm selling and he's hearing about how many cars I'm having in stock now, and that's great. But the bottom line is, Do I want to carry on paying pay-as-you-go prices without these bullshit features where things are a lot more simple? I know this is low tech, but let's say one of my cars that's been listed on pay-as-you-go. If I open the advert for that, it's simple. The GoPro got too hot. Basically, in short, it's no different than Boeing crashing planes with crap quality and then pocketing more than they ever have done. It's that kind of greed. And apparently traders have at one point or currently are cancelling their accounts on AutoTrader. The stock prices are going down hugely within AutoTrader, and quite frankly, it's very well deserved. Now, there are plenty of other places that are coming up in the market. You've got Entereg, you've got motors.co.uk. You do have plenty of alternatives, but the problem is, are they going to come up while AutoTrader goes down? It can happen. It happened with BlackBerry. It happened with the iPhone and Android and all that. Nokia ended up going down at a time when it was thriving and where every single one of us had a different type of Nokia phone. So nobody's invincible in this world when it comes to that. And this is going to be really sad if this happens. I hope it doesn't happen because AutoTrader got an incredible product here. Chances are I'm going to stick on pay-as-you-go because for a small business like me, for a small trader who is building up from 1 car, 2 car, 3 cars, it makes sense. The pricing is reasonable. The features are all I need. Really, the exposure clearly has worked. I know I'm told that the pay monthly ones will get far more exposure to a point where I'm basically plastered on everyone's home screens, but the reality is that it's getting me solid leads. I can see how many people are looking at it and people don't seem to be having any trouble finding my stuff. So to tell you the truth, pay monthly is not really going to be worth a huge amount of money. Even with a small amount of stock, it's still an extortionate amount of money. And looking at how the big players are being treated, looking at how much they've been extorted, it's going to take a huge amount to convince me to go over to pay monthly. And the more I look into this, the more I've heard about it, and the more I looked at that feature of the whole deal builder thing, I understand the positives behind it. They have told me the positives. According to their data, people who've been using that reservation button have been serious buyers. They've been looking at a certain type of car. They have been very serious, committed. That's great, and I'm sure that's true, but it does not take away from the fact that that feature can be abused, not only by AutoTrader in terms of clearly the way that they're using it to try and gain more control. They're an advertising firm. I don't understand why they're getting in the middle of trying to build a deal between the customer and us. It's our sale, it's our product. It was already quite bad when we choose the price of a car and they put a big dial up with a color saying, nope, you're in the orange or the red, you're charging too much. Even though a lot of the times for a lot of cars, it can be justified or it makes sense because that car's had a major amount of work done to it compared to the average. That was kind of still on the edge. I'm very, very sad by all this. So I'm so sorry to be at the point where it's almost negative and ranting. But to answer the honest question, yes, I do use AutoTrader. I use pay as you go on AutoTrader. I don't see why I won't stop using that anytime soon. I don't think I'll be touching pay monthly anytime soon. And I'm so sorry to any dealers watching this who have pay monthly. If I've got any of the details slightly wrong and slightly inaccurate, please correct me in the comments. But as far as I can see from everything I've read and from speaking to AutoTrader, those are the facts. And there are probably a lot of details I've still missed out to basically make the case against what AutoTrader is doing even worse. I really hope this nosedive ends because it's really, really sad to watch. For new traders, yeah, go with pay-as-you-go on AutoTrader and stick with pay-as-you-go on AutoTrader. It will be affordable, it will get you everything you need, it will do the job, and you'll get far more leads than if you do Facebook Marketplace or even Gumtree. I got next to nothing on Gumtree, to be fair. And eBay is meant to be okay, but even then eBay is hit and miss. AutoTrader just gets the job done. Again, this channel is growing really, really fast, and I want to thank everyone again for joining me. Subscribers are going up, everything's going up. I'm going to continue pushing out this content. As you can see, I've done quite a few videos informing people about the details of motor trade insurance, even my experience when it comes to road tax and all that kind of bogus stuff with it. The BMW is going live on sale tomorrow. That is going to be a really cool one, and the video for that should be coming basically tomorrow as well, fingers crossed. My apologies for rambling. Hopefully you've taken away something from this. I'm going to cool down because I need to at this point. I think I worked myself up enough. But until then, subscribe to this channel because we are kicking out stuff like this all the time and the cars we're putting out are really cool. See you soon.